I swear, some days I feel like I'm living in the goddamn Twilight Zone. Like I'm in an episode where people are just messing with me and everything weird that can happen within comic books is happening just to like drive me insane. I have given Marvel Comics far too much credit when it comes to their Fantastic Four plans for the future. Now, we did talk about some of the things that I thought could have happened, but there was a teaser out there and there was rumors that Ryan North, the guy that did Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, was going to be the new Fantastic Four writer. I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. Not even CB fucking Cebulski is stupid enough to put Ryan fucking North on a Fantastic Four like flagship title. This is supposed to be one of the like the big team books, not just in Marvel, but all of comic books. This is essentially the comic book that started Marvel Comics as we know it. The Fantastic Four are like the genesis of what we know as Marvel Comics. This is a super important comic book, but they haven't treated it that way in a very long time. I guess they fell out of favor when Fox still owned the rights to the movies. And I guess Perlmutter got upset about that. And I was like, you can't do anything cool with the Fantastic Four. So they didn't. And then they get the rights back. Okay, we're going to relaunch the Fantastic Four with Dan Slott. You're like, Dan Slott? And he's doing Iron Man? Where does this stuff coming from? Dan Slott hasn't written a consistently good comic book since like Ren and Stimpy, like way back in the day. But somehow he got the call and he didn't do a very good job. I was like, they're going to put somebody, not Chip Zdarsky, who they should put, but somebody with some quality and talent on the fucking book. And I'm wrong. It's Ryan North. We've got the exclusive from Entertainment Weekly today. Apparently, Entertainment Weekly has gone really downhill, or there just isn't much entertainment news to cover for them to even take a bite out of Ryan North on Fantastic Four. But this is the story as we know it. Ryan North and Ivan Coelho are taking on a new Fantastic Four series for Marvel. Announced by Entertainment Weekly, North and Coelho are teaming up for a Fantastic Four relaunch later this year. North has worked on a number of Marvel series in the past, including 2015's The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and 2020's Power Pack. Coelho previously worked for Marvel's Dark Ages Limited series, which launched in 2021 and concluded earlier this year, among other titles. Ivan Coelho is actually a pretty darn good comic book artist. I don't know that he's a Fantastic Four comic book artist. He's more of a horror kind of guy. He did some really good work. When Chip Zdarsky was on Venom as like the fill-in artist for Stegman when Stegman was doing all that extra side work, you know, getting ready for the big events and stuff. And Ivan Coelho, he's a really good artist. And what he did with Dark Ages is really good as well. Complete waste of his talents. Like, he's in the wrong genre, and he has a terrible writer. The guy that did Unbeatable Squirrel Girl has moved all the way up to writing the Fantastic Four. Above the Fantastic Four, you would imagine are the X-Men, who have certainly grown in popularity and overtaken the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers, who also, because of their notoriety outside of comic books, are far more important right now, I guess, than the Fantastic Four. But it's still a really important title. I mean, it's not Spider-Man, but it's not Unbeatable Squirrel Girl either. You know what I'm saying? This is actually pretty important. And talking about Power Pack, that was supposed to be like an ongoing that was brought down to like a 4-issue miniseries before the first issue ever came out, because there were no orders, because there's no popularity or interest in Ryan North as a comic book writer. I'm sure his mom will buy the comic book. Maybe she has a little extra money, but otherwise nobody in the world was like, you know what would be a good idea, Marvel? Let's bring in Ryan fucking North, the most unfunny Canadian in a world full of unfunny Canadians, onto Marvel Comics, one of their, what seemingly should be a flagship title. I am beside myself. I can't believe they actually did it. Marvel initially teased a new creative team was coming on board for Fantastic Four relaunch at San Diego Comic-Con. The current Fantastic Four series will end with Fantastic Four number 48 in October. Dan Slott, who boarded the series in 2018, is departing following Fantastic Four number 46. The final 2 issues come from writer David Pepos and artist Juan Cabal, releasing on September 21st. Fantastic Four 47 will also serve as a tie-in to Marvel's Judgment Day crossover event. I honestly didn't think Marvel Comics had it in them to announce a writer on Fantastic Four that I would be like, you know what? Why don't we keep Dan Slott on the book? Maybe that would be the best course of action. It wasn't the worst thing he's written in his career. In fact, I would say it was light years better than his Iron Man, and certainly better than the end of his Spider-Man run, other than that Red Goblin story, which was actually pretty hot. I don't want to I don't want to be an a-hole here about Dan Slott and his recent works at Marvel Comics. He's had a couple of high notes, but Fantastic Four, for the most part, was pretty nondescript. He had this big reckoning war that just got over, and guess what? Nobody read it. If you save the multiverse in a comic book and no one reads it, did it even happen? You know what I'm saying? Dan Slott is not a big name that gets people excited about Fantastic Four, but he might as well be like fucking Alan Moore compared to Ryan North. Was Gail Simone not available? Where's Kelly Thompson? Can we bring back Chuck Austin? Maybe he wants to revive his career. You know, he had a couple of missteps here and there at Marvel Comics, but even Chuck Austin would be a more logical writer for Fantastic Four than fucking Ryan North. I'm still beside myself. I find this completely like nonsensical. I feel like I'm in Alice in fucking Wonderland. Like up is down and down is up. Like what world am I living in? Ryan North? He shouldn't even have been on Squirrel Girl. He wasn't talented enough for that book, and no one wanted to read that either. North teased a new relaunch would tell smaller stories featuring Marvel's first family. Quote, I had the advantage that Dan Slott's run went super huge. In the most recent arc, The Reckoning War, they saved not just a universe, but the entire multiverse. That made the choice obvious. I'm never going to go as big as Dan did, so let's tell smaller stories about the Fantastic Four. That was my way in. How did this guy have a way in? I think everyone in comic books is probably going, Ryan North. Like, I just didn't see that one coming. I know they teased it, but I didn't think they had the balls to do it. As far as telling smaller, more contained stories about the Fantastic Four, I'd say go for it. It doesn't really matter. You could tell the spiritual successor to the Galactus trilogy and no one would read it because you're Ryan North and no one's going to be interested in this comic book series. The only people that are going to be buying this are people that have like uninterrupted Fantastic Four runs, and they're not going to read it. They're going to put it in some plastic. They're going to put it in the pile, and they're going to move on with their lives until an actual writer comes onto the Fantastic Four. Almost anyone. Obviously, there's some people over the X-Men office. There's some really bad writers over DC. Tim Sheridan, Megan Fitzmartin that come to mind probably would have been worse choices, but it's literally you can count them on one or two hands. Who would be a worse choice to write Fantastic Four than Ryan North? CB Cebulski, I imagine you don't like me. You don't know me, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to give you a discount. You throw $1,000 my way a month, and I will be your consultant. And when you come up with stupid ideas like this, I will be like, CB, you're being a fucking idiot. You don't put Ryan North on Fantastic Four. Let's go a little bit bigger. Can we get Gabby Rivera for Fantastic Four? Maybe that would be a better choice. Maybe slap some sense into this guy. I say it in jest, but literally anybody in the world could have come up with a better comic book writer on Fantastic Four than Ryan North. Who's a worse writer? You say Vita Ayala. I'll tell you right now, the Vita Ayala story in Wonder Woman's 80th anniversary special, like giant size issue, is pretty damn good. She's actually written a good story, which is a bigger accomplishment than Ryan North has ever had in his comic book writing career. It's time for Marvel Comics to take the Fantastic Four seriously and understand how tremendously important this team is to the history of Marvel Comics and the fabric of what Marvel Comics is today and the legacies of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all the things that they created that came out of this. Doctor Doom, Galactus, Kree-Skrull Wars, all that stuff comes directly out of the Fantastic Four. It's time to treat this book like it's important, and people will come back. I promise you. You don't even have to put the greatest artist in the world. You just put somebody that people trust to tell a good Fantastic Four story, and people will come back and support the series. But as long as you keep hiring also Rans like Dan Slott and never will be's like Ryan North, no one is ever going to take your attempts to get Fantastic Four back off the ground since you pretty much buried them because of the Fox movie deals. Seriously, they're just not. People want to see a great Fantastic Four series with great creative and a wonderful celebration of Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, because there's such wonderful characters and they have a great dynamic. There's so many cool things that you can do with this. Now, the one good thing about this is he can't destroy Galactus because Dan Slott already did that in Reckoning War. If you didn't know about this, Dan Slott's Reckoning War fundamentally changes and alters what Galactus is in the Marvel Comics universe. He's no longer the Devourer of Worlds. If you don't know about it, check this video out. I talk about it in full. how Dan Slott really dropped the ball and kind of ruined Galactus on his way out the door.